I'd like to now introduce our next presentation, Andy Hall, City Manager at the City of Imperial Beach. Andy Hall became City Manager of Imperial Beach on August 5th, 2013. In 2009, Andy served as the Community Development Director of Cathedral Cities, and in December 2012, became Cathedral City's City Manager. Andy most appreciates working in a small town where the most difference can be made. Andy grew up in Wyoming and has spent most of his professional career in Utah and Nevada. Andy describes himself as an independent whose experiences in life shape his opinions of the world, but essentially is a fiscal conservative and social liberal. One thing that I did find as I was reading through Andy's nomination and being selected as the city manager was that the mayor and city council took only 10 minutes to decide on the right candidate for the job, and that was Andy Hall. So Andy, welcome to our board meeting, and I'll give the time to you.
Well, thank you for that. And I have no idea where you got that information because I know I didn't send it over. So I don't even know how true it is, but it's good to hear it anyway. I did have a little bit of house cleaning. First, Jim, congratulations on being a father. I can tell you as a grandfather, I got a lot more sleep as a grandfather than you're getting as a father. Congratulations on being a father. You're going to love it.
Thanks so much.
Brad said that he joined to hear what I was going to say. Brad has set an all-time low bar for entertainment value. I'm not exactly sure what he's hoping to hear, but we'll see if we can give him something worth listening to. And then Gretchen, holy cow, I'm inspired. She's out doing a workout while she's listening to this. And I thought, man, this is a beach community. I probably should have done this with a GoPro from standing in the ocean on a surfboard or a boogie board or something, but it didn't happen. But I'm going to share my screen and just talk a little bit about what's happening in Imperial Beach. And as a built out community, one of the things we always look for, regardless of what's happening in our community, and hopefully everyone can see my screen. I know that there was some at least confusion with the previous one, and hopefully I've learned a little bit, and we'll just, it doesn't, similar to me, I'm going to try this F5 thing that a friend told me to try, and it worked. So in case anybody else gets stuck on Zoom, you've seen it now. So in Imperial Beach, because we are a built out community, one of the things we always look for is some compensating benefits for anything that happens in the community, because we want to make sure that any changes that happen in the community are positive for our city. So some of you are familiar with Bikeway Village. This was a couple of warehouses that we had on the north end of our community. They were probably a little bit underutilized, and so we started something called Bikeway Village. And some of you are familiar with that. It's not new. It's been around a little bit, but it's been interesting as this has continued to develop and gotten more popular over time. So this is Bikeway Village, and you can see the transformation, how it's changed. And now it's a very successful development. We have 2 bicycle shops in there. We have 2 wheels, and now we have red bikes. There's a coffee shop in this area. It's a great place to park your car, get on your bike, ride on the Bayshore Bikeway. And so it's become a really nice adaptive reuse. And again, that's one of the things we're trying to do in our community is as things happen, make sure that there's some benefit to the community, not just the next project. So as a built out community, we've tried to be a little bit more particular in what we approve and what we don't approve. Here's a couple other pictures of it. And like I said, we'll keep moving fast because we want to make sure that there's time for any questions or to keep you guys on pace. I think you guys are also familiar with the new commercial development that we have on the corner of 9th and Palm. It has a grocery store and a lot of other businesses that have really added to the community and give us some opportunities to have some retail generation here in Imperial Beach. A few years ago, and I think it's still true, Imperial Beach was the lowest retail sales producing community per capita in the entire state. But I think we do have some new options, and that's happening more and more as we speak. But one of the things that we tried to add to our community, of course, this was added during COVID. The Hampton Inn opened during COVID. And so we didn't see a lot of slowdown in Imperial Beach during COVID. And in fact, the hotel has done quite nicely during this pandemic. We talked a little bit about housing earlier, and I appreciate Ray bringing up housing. It's a real challenge, especially in a built-out community like Imperial Beach. Bayside Landing was the old RV park that was known as Bernardo Shores. That was removed, and we put in some housing in that area, about 184 units, which was the largest residential development ever built in Imperial Beach. And so it was a fairly large development for a city of our scale. And one of the things, again, if we're going to add things to our community, we wanted to make sure that the community was getting something out of it as well. So we wanted to make sure that there was a new connection to the Bayshore Bikeway. The Bayshore Bikeway is an important feature of our community. And so as the development was built out, you can see that the bike trail was added, and it goes around Pond 10. If any of you have been familiar, we have a flamingo that lives in that area. It's the only flamingo we're aware of. We don't know where it came from. Everybody says it probably came from the Marriott in Coronado. We don't care. We're the only ones that have a wild flamingo living in our bay. So we're pretty excited about that. But again, we wanted to make sure that we had some of these benefits for things that are happening in the community. We want to make sure that there are benefits to the community, and that's what we're seeing with some of these developments. Some of you are familiar with what was a vacant lot on Seacoast Drive. And again, it's important in a community like ours to add housing anywhere you can. Of course, Seacoast Drive is primarily a commercial road where we have the Brigantine restaurant, but we did try to make sure that we added some housing units above that. Unfortunately, I think where you saw Mr. Major's presentation, these are not attainable by most of the people in our community. These units, even though they're rather small, 12 or 1,400 square feet, are well over $1 million. And so again, it becomes very difficult to not only provide housing, but provide housing for people that can actually afford it. And that's been one of our challenges, even in Imperial Beach, which is probably the most affordable beach town in Southern California. Even these smaller units are very, very expensive, and that's going to certainly be a challenge as we move forward. But one of the things we try to do, once again, is people just absolutely love outdoor dining. We found out that during COVID, they love it even more. I don't think outdoor dining is going away. So we've tried to make sure that we do maintain pedestrian access, but you can see that we've moved out and allowed people to have more outdoor dining. And that's been really important for our restaurants. And they have told us that that's something they'd want us to stick with. This was a vacant lot that many of you were familiar with, again, on Seacoast Drive. Hess Brewing bought this lot and then transformed it into something that is quite unique. It's very much an outdoor facility. There's outdoor dining for, it's got a taco shop as well as Hess Brewing. And you can see up there on the upper, I guess you can see my cursor here, up on the upper right side, there's a deck where you can look out over the ocean. And this is a really nice place if you haven't had an opportunity. So again, you can kind of see the things that we're trying to do and turn vacant lots into usable space in our community, because we don't have a lot of space left in Imperial Beach. And you can kind of see the difference here. We needed to widen the sidewalk because of the palm trees. They had grown out into the sidewalk, and in some areas it was only about 3 feet wide. And so we wanted to make sure that we made this a much more usable space on Seacoast Drive. So those are some of the things that are happening now. Those are things that you may have experienced, but I just wanted to touch on a few things that are happening. This is a building that was recently approved where the Wave Cafe building is, right across the street from the Pier South Hotel. It's going to be a restaurant space on the bottom right on Seacoast Drive. And then again, some new housing. Once again, this will be market rate housing. It's very difficult to get affordable housing right on the coast. But we're going to keep after it and do what we can to try to provide some housing opportunities. And this is just another rendition of that project. Another one is right across the street from Pier Plaza, which is where the pier begins and the lifeguard tower is. Just to the east of that, this is a building that was approved by the city. This is all restaurant space. It's totally commercial. They were unable to provide residential on this lot simply because the lot is so small. That's one of the real challenges in Imperial Beach, is having lots that are large enough to be able to accommodate really the parking requirements for housing. But of course, the state has decided that we don't need parking for housing. So that'll be interesting in some of these beach communities that are already struggling with parking, is where to put parking as we build more housing. So this is just another picture of that. And then one of the things that's happening on Old Palm, We're trying to repurpose some of those buildings. If you've been down there, some of them need some remodeling and some updating. This is the pizza port that was recently approved. Again, the outdoor dining element, making sure that there's something that the residents can benefit from. And this is going to be a nice addition to our community as well. And it's a nice repurpose of an existing building that has gotten pretty tired. And we just want to make sure that we are using our space as efficiently as possible. So I think that was my, just a couple of public projects that I wanted to talk about. This was the IB Boulevard project. If you've not had a chance to come down and see the new boardwalk that was put in front of the estuary, this is a great place to spend some time, look out over the estuary. We went from a 4-foot sidewalk to a 24-foot wide boardwalk that accommodates both bicycles and pedestrians, and it's just a great view. If you haven't had a chance to come down, this is a great place to spend some time in Imperial Beach. We've added bike lanes on Imperial Beach Boulevard, and they get used heavily. We're glad that we did that. It has slowed our traffic down by about 4 miles per hour, which is a lot on a neighborhood street. IB Boulevard, even though it's a main road, has a lot of residential development. So we want to make sure that we are doing what we can to keep people going a reasonable rate of speed. And then in Dunes Park, this is an area that is shared between the city of Imperial Beach and the Port of San Diego. We wanted to make sure that there were some things happening for our residents in that location as well. And so we actually built a sports park, or I'm sorry, a fitness court, and that fitness court has been used heavily. And so we're glad that we were able to make that park a little bit more usable for our residents. So let me stop sharing. I just wanted to run through a couple of things that are happening here in Imperial Beach. It's pretty exciting for us. Did I stop sharing? Can someone nod their head? Hopefully we're back. Yeah. Okay, good. But yeah, I really appreciate Jim giving us the opportunity to just talk a little bit about what's happening down here at the end of the world. This is the most southwesterly city in the United States, and it's about as far as you can go. And I hope that everybody will find their way down here and spend some time in Imperial Beach. Very glad to answer any questions if there are any. But again, Jim, thank you for giving us a chance to kind of highlight some of the great things that are happening down here in Imperial Beach.
Oh, Andy, thank you. We appreciate it. And it's always good to hear from our community partners, and we're looking forward to hearing from the rest of them as well. So thank you for being the first to jump off and share all this great insight. But let Willie and everybody open it back up for questions.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Andy.